Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Frontline with Joe and Joe. We have a great conversation for you tonight, so we encourage you to stick around. We're going to talk about the Queen, who has passed away. We're going to be talking about the vicious attacks on the Queen. We got a clip to play for you there. And we're going to be talking about what is a conservative and what is a national conservative, okay? We have a clip from Marjorie Taylor Greene we want to play for you, and Joe and I want to have a discussion. I think I'm a national conservative. So we're going to hash that out. So stick around. We'll be right back with the Frontline with Joe and Joe on the Crusade channel.
Her Royal Highness Princess Elizabeth, speaking from South Africa on her 21st birthday, marks the occasion with this simple but historic message.
Let me begin by saying thank you to all the thousands of kind people who have sent me messages of goodwill. This is a happy day for me, but it is also one that brings serious thoughts. Thoughts of life looming ahead with all its challenges and with all its opportunity. Will you, the youth of the British family of nations, let me speak on my birthday as your representative. Now that we are coming to manhood and womanhood, it is surely a great joy to us all to think that we shall be able to take some of the burden off the shoulders of our elders, who have fought and worked and suffered to protect our childhood. If we all go forward together with an unwavering faith, a high courage and a quiet heart, we shall be able to make of this ancient Commonwealth, which we all love so dearly, an even grander thing, more free, more prosperous, more happy, and a more powerful influence for good in the world than it has been in the greatest days of our forefathers. To accomplish that, we must give nothing less than the whole of ourselves. There is a motto which has been borne by many of my ancestors, a noble motto, I serve. Those words were an inspiration to many bygone heirs to the throne when they made their knightly dedication as they came to manhood. I cannot quite do as they did, but through the inventions of science, I can do what was not possible for any of them. I can make my solemn act of dedication with the whole empire listening. I should like to make that dedication now. It is very simple. I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong. But I shall not have strength to carry out this resolution alone, unless you join in it with me, as I now invite you to do. I know that your support will be unfailingly given. God help me to make good my vow, and God bless all of you who are willing to share in it.
We have to be ready, and in some cases, it's not going to be nice. The fight's coming to you on a whole different level. They're loaded for bear. Joe Resinello, Frontline with Joe and Joe Pasillo, as always.
They're not going to take this lying down.
On the Crusade channel, always on air, and always online at crusadechannel.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Front Line with Joe and Joe Pasillo, as always, joined by Joe Resinello. And once more, dear brothers and sisters, oh man, are we going into the breach on the Crusade channel. Joe Resinello, I don't even know where to start, Joe Resinello. You know what? You know where I'm at right now, Joe? You know where I'm at right now when these people, these lefties, these professional complainers and moaners, people of privilege, by the way, they sit at Carnegie Mellon University, make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and they're tenured, and they say the stupidest, dumbest things, okay? My attitude now, Joe, I got nothing to lose in life. I really don't. You know what my attitude is? I'm not listening to you anymore. This woman who we just saw a clip from, Queen Elizabeth II, okay, didn't just talk about dedicating her life to the service of her nation. She did it. She did it with elegance. She did it through scandals. She held her head up high. Okay. She's a model. And these, let me be nice, Joe, and just hand it over to you. This way, maybe you're usually the calming influence amongst the two of us at the front line with Joe and Joe. Let me hand it over to you to let everybody know what I'm talking about.
Well, I just to clear it up for those who may not have read what Joe is referring to. There was some folks, they're they're leftist commentators. Basically, they were pointing fingers at the Queen, saying that the British monarchy was represented white supremacy and colonialism. Um, this is kind of how I look at this. I'm going to pull a card out from Reagan. There they go again. Laura Ingraham says it this way: as soon as they mention racism, they lost the argument. Give it no mind. To be truthful with you, this is not about righting a wrong, because the colonialism of the British Empire was righted. They gave back all their territories. They did. I mean, it's all back. Everybody.
Some people might say the empire crumbled. They really didn't have a choice, particularly after two brutal world wars that they were involved with. But you're exactly right. Joe, I'm going to throw a factoid out there. I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to throw one fact at you, okay? The British Empire abolished slavery 50 years before we did. Joe, not exactly, a bad thing, okay? Do some of these people, do they just simply overlook that? Joe, I'm going to throw it to you.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not going to defend colonialism. I'm not going to. I mean, clearly that they did good things. I mean, let's be honest. There's good and there's bad in everything. England has its sins just as America has its sins. I just don't think it's the time to discuss it. What I mean, not us, but to criticize. They were righted. Like, they gave India back. They, they gave the territories back. No one wants to be under the thumb of anybody. Now, we could go through like the benefits, and to your point, you're right. I mean, they gave them infrastructure, language, culture, democracy, commonwealth, law and order, education. But
Well, these are not small things, Joe.
I know, but no one let's put it this way. If Mexico took over America, I don't want anything from you. I want to be free. I don't look at colonialism as a good thing, no matter who did it.
Well,
I don't. People should be free.
In fairness, Joe, you and I are going to disagree on that.
Well, that's okay, but I don't think it's anyone's business to take over another nation and impose themselves on them. It's like us going to Iraq saying our culture is better than yours. Frankly, that's your business. If you want to live this way, that's your business. That's how Trump looks at it, and I think his foreign policy spot on. Live how you want to live. That's your business. Don't come into my country and tell me my business. But what I will say is this: they gave it all back. So why bring it up? Why bring it up? Because it's about power. This is simply the race card once again. This is not about righting a wrong. This is about it's a power grab. And frankly, it should be ignored. I am not entertaining nonsense. I'm going to pull a Giuliani. When Al Sharpton, he was a non-event. You don't even discuss him. You're a non-event.
Joe, they have to be. I know what you're saying. I wish we could do that. I wish we could ignore them. The fact is this. Let me give you an example, okay? You and I would never, ever do this, okay? Ever. Let me be clear, okay? But if you and I, Joe, were a tenured professor at Carnegie Mellon University and Barack Obama was dying and we wished him an excruciatingly painful death, we'd be out of a job. We'd be out of a job. This woman at Carnegie Mellon, okay, does this. Oh, and the university says that we don't stand by her statement. I want her fired. I want her fired. That's what I want. I want.
She just has no class, Joe. I mean, that's how I look at it. And
Joe,
I just don't. When I hear things, she has no class. Listen, no person is perfect. No system is perfect. No government ever has been perfect, ever. Again, what she's addressing has been righted. It's like the slavery issue in America. It's over. Slavery is over. And the majority of the people in America, like myself, my family wasn't even in the country at the time.
Doesn't matter to them.
No, but that's why your comment means nothing. There you go again. I'm not even addressing your stupid comment because it's stupid. Like I think we give too much credence to stupid ideas. People should ignore it. It's just stupid.
But
And
Joe,
and
you do agree that, in other words, in an let's say in the setting of an educational institution, okay, Carnegie Mellon University or Harvard or Yale or any school, okay, they should be teaching history truthfully, okay. They should be the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you want to know what I get tired of, Joe? This notion, here, let me give you a point, okay? You said they paid it back, okay? The United States, we lost 600,000 men in the Civil War, okay, to end slavery. Slavery was one of the main factors, obviously, in our own Civil War. The British, I believe it was 1815. Wilberforce didn't live long enough to see it. Who was the one who was railing in Parliament about the evil of slavery and making it a moral issue. Okay, they abolished slavery, I believe, in 1815. Joe, how come people like this and others out there like not? I wish Joe, her name wasn't even in the public arena. Somebody who's, I want to be charitable. Someone who's not so smart, like Sonny Hostin on The View, okay, and other Kahendi Andrews, Black Studies University professor at Birmingham City University. Joe, do you know the only place that slavery exists in the world right now, or one of the only places, is in Asia and Africa? And you know who's enslaving people? Black and brown people are enslaving other black and brown people.
Muslims still use slavery. That's
right. Why don't they ever say anything about that? This is 2022.
But that's why, again, it's just because they're not interested in the truth. This is about power. These people are trying to it's about power, Joe.
Right.
Like this, they're not about righting any wrong. It's about power. And frankly, like I said, I think as a whole, the press is going to be the press, and we all know who they are. People, I think, to be truthful with you, have stopped listening. Look at the ratings. They speak for themselves. No one's interested in their nonsense. Very few people are. The ratings show it. Look at what's going on with Gutfeld. Gutfeld's crushing late night TV. That should say something. That's an indicator. People are not the people. That includes Democrats, by the way, because not everybody, listen, I could disagree up and down the block with many people who are Democrats on a million different issues. But I'm not a Republican either. The Republicans, frankly, don't represent America either.
Well,
but I will say this.
We're going to talk about that in the next segment.
But functioning people, as in I get up every day, I pay my bills, I take care of my kids. They're not interested in this stupidity. Van Jones said it. Van Jones on CNN said it to the grimaces of the panel in front of him. They don't speak the same language as the regular people. And I'm going to tell you another thing. The people in power right now, particularly Biden and his crew, they could tell themselves all they want that they represent America. They don't. And that includes Democrats. Sadly, too many people are caught up in the I hate Donald Trump stuff and can't see past it. Frankly, they should turn the news off and just watch how their life improves. But they don't, and they can't see past it. People are not interested, and it goes along with this nonsense. She's a white supremacist. Here they go again. I'm not even paying attention. I'm ignoring you.
England is one of the most multicultural societies there is. I believe he's an Indian or mayor of London. Okay,
yeah, he's Indian, Indian or Pakistani.
The parliament. They didn't go into these places like India. Now, whatever, like you said, Joe. Okay, they gave it back. But the bottom line is, you know how many Indians went to England and became citizens and put down their roots in merry old England? Okay, they didn't look at these people like, in other words, they didn't want them to be part of the empire. They looked at these people that they did want them to become part of the empire. That's why they set up the systems that they did, like education and everything else. Okay. Now, again, Joe, the argument is not about whether or not colonialism was good. The argument is about being objective, is what I'm saying. And what we find in these attacks on Queen Elizabeth II is a lack of objectivity. And it's very, very frustrating because, Joe, I'm sorry, I'll say it one more time. These people shouldn't have paychecks, not at a university, not in a
Well,
place
I
where you're
blame the
teaching
parents
kids.
who send their kids there. I
But
mean,
it's all
that's
so it's hard to it's I'm sorry to cut you off. It's hard, or we'll put it like this. I understand what parents go through, because parents usually go by the ratings and the reputation of the schools, whether or not their kids are going to be successful, as you always say, and they don't worry about sometimes the details like this. If they knew about it, you're right. They would say something. Go ahead, Joe.
But I think college is what you make of it. Like, I know plenty of people that went to regular colleges that knocked the ball out of the park. I mean, there are some colleges, there are exceptions, but if you're smart, you're smart. I mean, like, again, I think people don't look at some of the curriculums. And frankly, I'm not interested in my kid being formed by these people. Now,
Right.
I want my kids to get educated, and I'm also not hiding from the world. You have to be in the world, which means you got to go out and work, and which means you got to talk to different types of people. That's reality. That is simply reality. And you're going to come up, up against people who don't see the world the way you see it. That's reality. And how you deal with them is how you, to be honest with you, you grow, and frankly, how you're a Catholic. I mean, Catholics don't like go out and bash people over the head with a baseball bat because we just don't agree. You could
Right.
just be like, listen, at the end of the day, I don't agree with you. And if frankly, if someone is nasty, you just distance yourself from them. I mean, like, or they're nasty to you, but at the same time, you don't want your kid formed by somebody like this. And I do think that no university is perfect and no place is perfect. And frankly, life is making choices and balancing. And frankly, you're never going to have it perfect. If you try, you're going to be very upset in life. You're never going to be happy. You can't let the good be the enemy of the perfect, because you're never going to find the perfect ever. This is
Right.
heaven. This is not heaven. With that said, I'll be honest with you, there's so much bull crap out there. It's a very simple answer. Click, turn it off.
No, Joe, listen, I can't agree with you enough. Okay. We do have to turn off. But again, we do have to engage. You know what I mean? We do have to engage these people. But one thing I would tell you is this. You said here at the front line with Joe and Joe, for those of you just joining us, Joe Pasillo and Joe Rossinello on the Crusade channel, always on air and always online at crusadechannel.com. You talked about no nation is perfect. No government is perfect. But these people, Joe, what they represent, and they're all leftists, let's be real, okay? They have the nerve, the gall to criticize the British Empire or to criticize Queen Elizabeth II, wish her an excruciating death. We've seen what their regimes are all about. They don't stop at oppression, Joe. They start, they go they go full forward. Okay, they put the pedal to the metal and they just start killing people left and right. They offer something different than, let's say, for argument's sake, a Queen Elizabeth. They offer nothing but death and oppression. And we've seen that, Joe. That's not me being hyperbolic, okay? We've seen that in just the last 100 years. While Britain was welcoming in the people, okay, from a lot of these countries that were once colonies of theirs, and they became British citizens, okay? The leftists of this world were out there killing everybody
Well, Joe,
during Queen
I just
Elizabeth's
finished.
reign.
I just finished Joseph Pierce's book. I mean, England definitely doesn't have a scarlet white history. They treated Catholics for 350 years horrible. Their own people.
Joe,
I
I
talk
agree.
to it. No, talk to someone who's Irish. They will literally spit on the ground when you mention sometimes. Like, but my thing is this: this has been righted. Like, I'm not going to deny reality. Talk to Indian people. Watch the movie Gandhi. Read about what happened in India. They weren't treated well. They were treated like slaves. They were taken advantage of. Their resources were robbed, and they weren't paid properly. This is reality. What I would say is this: acknowledge the reality. It was a wrong that was righted, and move on.
Right, but
Like,
remember something, Joe, but you said there's no heaven on earth. Again, my larger point is
Joe,
not.
but that's not, you can't excuse it. I'm not going to excuse slavery in this
No, I'm not.
country.
I'm not. But listen to me. My larger point, Joe Resinello, is these people have no leg to stand on.
Well, that's why I
Their
don't listen to
regimes
them.
that they represent, whose worldview they share. The Stalinists, the Maos, the Pol Pots, the Ho Chi Minhs, the Fidel Castros, all of them, Daniel Ortega, okay? The people that headed up those regimes have a worldview that these people that criticize Queen Elizabeth share, okay? And that's all these people have done is repress people, oppress people, and murdered them. Just straight up murder. If you want to look at, let's say, for argument's sake, Stalin, Mao, Castro. Castro was a piker. He only killed about 100,000 and imprisoned about 150,000 at the end of the day. So he's a piker. But at the end of the day, these people go out of their way to excuse those white people, or at least Stalin, I guess, was white in their mind. Or if they'll excuse Mao, they'll excuse Castro. They won't say a word about it. And you want to quit? You want to criticize England? England, like you said, Joe, they committed their sins. Guess what? Just like America commits its sins.
Of course, that's a given.
Okay.
But the thing is, it's not about righting wrongs. This is simply a race card. It's a power grab. Like that's why, again, it's just they lost the argument. And frankly, it's in distaste. It's in distaste. This is not the time for this conversation, not our conversation, but to criticize this woman. I mean, gosh, she served her country for 70 years and she served it faithfully, like you said. And frankly, there's not many people that do anything for 70 years consistently out there. She did. So, like, it just shows they have no class. That's my view. Like, none whatsoever. The woman was a patriot. She loved her country. And frankly, we should just celebrate her life. She's a historic figure. Historic.
Without question.
And that's exactly, and people like this, frankly, there's always going to be haters. And as the saying goes, haters are going to hate. Frankly, I have no time for it anymore. It takes up air. And too many people listen to this garbage. And it's garbage.
Right.
That like, really.
And you made a good point. I want to make a point too, Joe. I'm not enamored with the British. I want to make that clear, okay? And I've always, and again, as Catholic men, we know their sins as far as their persecution of the Catholic Church, started by Queen Elizabeth's namesake, Queen Elizabeth I. Okay, well, first Henry VIII, her father, but then her. Okay, I have no love for the British Empire, just like I have no love for England. Okay, but I just think fair is fair. I think you fairly analyze, objectively analyze, let's say, history. You look at history. And like you said, she's an historical figure. She presided over in England that did not persecute Catholics and did not persecute other people, okay, and did not oppress other people. And she ran her country the best way she saw, and she served. And I just don't think that these professional complainers, okay, these professional victims are being very fair. But then again, Joe, I don't think they really care about fairness.
Oh, they don't. They don't care.
Clear.
You're 100%
Let's be
right.
clear. I would point to two things that make me know that I'm a forgiving man. Okay, the repression and the persecution of the Catholic Church for 300 years in England was brutal. Okay, brutal. Okay, and I have no problem saying good things about Queen Elizabeth II. Okay, just the same as their treatment of the Irish was brutal. Okay, but again, I think you and I on this show, we try to be objective. I think these people just have a political agenda and a political axe to grind. And I think you're right. We ought not listen to them. But I do want, for everybody out there listening to us at the front line with Joe and Joe, I did want to point out what was said. And
it's fair. No, it's a fair thing. Listen, people, Joe, you flip through the channels. I mean, it's all about ratings. Kellyanne Conley said something at the beginning of Trump's administration, and she was spot on. She said CNN made a business decision. They did. It's a business decision. It's like when you make a movie. When Hollywood makes a movie, the people in the boardroom look at the demographic that they're marketing the movie to, and they're going to basically say this segment of society is going to watch this movie, and we're going to project this amount of money versus what we put out, and we're going to make a profit. It's the same thing with the news outlets. They're not like, the cat is out of the bag. The news is bogus. It's bogus. It's basically marketing a story to a demographic. And that's just what this person is doing. If you watch, and I sometimes do, I'll flip the channels and I just want to see what's being said on MSNBC. Just to see.
You're a
Oh my
braver man than
goodness.
me, Joe.
No, I do. And I'll listen and I'll just say to myself, oh my gosh, this is just a bunch of propaganda trash.
Right.
Why though? The person who produces it doesn't care. Just like someone who produces a cheesy Sylvester Stallone movie about arm wrestling. He's looking for a demographic to make a certain profit versus what he paid out. It's about money. They're
Right.
marketing a storyline, has nothing to do with the truth, has nothing to do with facts. They take a fact, they manipulate the facts. Why? Because they're selling a story.
Right.
And that's all this is. And frankly, it's a shame that people are even interested, but they are, because frankly, Joe, a lot of people have an axe to grind. They're not interested in the truth. They're not married to the truth, and they live in rationalizations. That's
Hey,
how
Joe,
they get through the
you
day.
know what they have to be told time and time and time again, and then we're gonna move on in the conversation. They need to be told you cannot name one group in all of human history, not one, who has not been persecuted. Not one. Not one. So
I'll
guess
buy
what?
that.
Keep your gripes to yourself. I think you could demonstrate, Joe, just by sheer numbers, that Roman Catholics for the last 2,000 years fall amongst the very top of most persecuted groups. You want to know what?
Joe, we're persecuted now.
I don't carry that on my shoulder. I fight against it. I try to fight against
persecuted
anti-Catholic.
right now.
Right. You're right.
In this country. This country.
Oh, it's only going to get worse if
That's a fact. I mean, just recently, Project Veritas. Did you hear that one? That they didn't hire someone because they were Catholic. They were caught on tape. Did not hire them.
Wait a minute.
Because
Project Veritas, James.
Yeah,
O'Keefe?
it's the same like group that basically like listened to some of the Bernie. We covered it years ago. Bernie Sanders, like it's like that group that like tapes stuff undercover, like certain conversations.
Wait a minute, you're talking about James O'Keefe?
Project Veritas. If that's his organization, that's how
He
it
didn't
was.
hire somebody. I'm going to look that up. I did
Yeah,
not
look
know
it up.
that.
Look it up. It would just recently happened, and basically, we're persecuted now. We're persecuted now. You cannot hold certain opinions in some circles, and frankly, listen, as the church believes and teaches. Listen, it is what it is. And again, we're not, Joe, ultimately, we're not made for this earth. And we have to fight for truth. We have to basically live the truth, but we have to also suffer for the truth. And we're always going to.
Joe,
no matter where.
No, listen, I agree. Joe, I agree with you. Let's move on in the conversation. But Jonathan, our producer, he's letting me know, I think Project Veritas taped one of their undercover tapes with somebody not getting hired.
Okay, there we go. Just recently.
Yeah, James O'Keefe absolutely would not do that. But they probably taped somebody undercover.
No, no.
Anyway, you're at the front line with Joe and Joe Pasillo and Joe Rossinello. We're way in the breach on the Crusade channel, always on air and always online at crusadechannel.com, the last live radio station standing. We always ask everybody, go to crusadechannel.com, open the hood, kick the tires. We're convinced you're going to want to become a subscriber. Joe, I don't know. I know what I am as a man. I know how I identify. Okay. I'm a Roman Catholic American male of Italian descent. That's fairly accurate, isn't it? Right. And in that order, by the way. Okay. In that order. Now, politically, Joe, there's so much garbage going on out there politically. I got to be honest with you. I don't want to fall into a camp. I don't want to let anybody. I don't want to let anybody put me into any kind of a box. Okay, and say you're this or you're that. But if you're talking about national conservative, and then you try to get some sort of an idea of what national conservatism is all about, I'm going to say, at least on the surface, okay, until I dig a little bit deeper, yeah, I'm a national conservative. The problem is, you mentioned MSNBC, you mentioned CNN. If you use the word national, right away, they put the word white in front of it, okay? And they make it out to be a racist organization because, of course, Joe, I don't know if anybody told you, that's what we all are, right? According to Ellie Mastal and Joy Reid and all the race huckers, Ibram Kendi, all the guilty white liberals at CNN and MSNBC. We're racist. I mean, I hope, Joe, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I think you're a really good guy, but at the end of the day, you have white skin. You're a racist. However, I'm going to throw it over to you because there's too many competing camps, Joe, as far as conservatism go. I know one thing I'm not. I'm not one of these conservatives that's going to embrace gay marriage. I'm not one of these conservatives that's going to embrace gender ideology. They could keep their conservative movement. But let me not get too long-winded. Joe, I'm handing it over to you.
Well, don't we have a tape, John? Why don't we play the
Yes,
tape? I think
John,
it's
do we
very-
have a tape of that?
Well, I'm a Christian. You know, I have my full faith in God and Jesus is my savior. I'm not perfect. I'm definitely a sinner. I know that for sure, and that's why I put my faith in the Son of God who died on a Roman cross so that my sins could be forgiven. And that's the profession of my faith. I also believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and I believe the words in the Bible. That's what being a Christian is. Jesus's commandment, God's commandment to us is to love God first and then love people like we love ourselves and love him and like he loves people. So I don't see how this is a scary thing. It's definitely not racist. People includes all people, even the ones we don't like. That doesn't mean that we back down and cave into their demands or what they want us to do, because I believe a lot of the things the left want are extremely wrong and sinful.
Spot on. I mean,
You said a lot of things you just can't say. I believe in the Bible. Wrong. Can't do that.
right.
You know, like
Right.
like she believes that certain behaviors are sinful. Wrong. You can't
Wrong.
say that.
Right.
I mean, that's sad, but it's
Like,
true.
she
I
is the
mean, like,
face
to
of
be
what you
honest
would-
with you, they paint that poor woman out to be a monster. Like, ultimately, she just has guts and she lays it out. I'm not like waving her flag, you know.
No.
To be honest with you, we disagree on a very fundamental aspect of our faith. You know, I'm not a Protestant. I'm not condemning Protestants, but I believe in the Catholic line. She doesn't. And we have, you know, like I said, she's not, you know, I just want to put that out there to people, but I do believe that she, as I do, I believe in this country. I've said this time and time again. I believe in the Constitution. How it was founded, was it perfect? No, but I believe in it. And frankly, I don't think a lot of these folks that criticize the country, particularly on the left, they do believe in it. And the sick part is, Joe, in other parts of the world, they're the first ones killed. They're the first ones killed. Like what I mean, try to say some of the things that these folks say in, say, Yemen, in Pakistan, in Egypt. You are killed in the Sudan. You are killed.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying. So many of these critics of America have benefited beyond comprehension from the goodness of this land.
Joe, how come you never see on CNN or MSNBC, okay, in mainstream media, how come they don't pull a poor kid from Newark, New Jersey, 18 years old, whose mother has nothing, they have no material wealth whatsoever, is trying to get an education? How come they never put him up there to say, you want to know what? America's really not treating me that well. It's always these rich black liberals, elitists, who are all complaining about white racism. Spike Lee. Spike Lee's worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh, without a doubt. Without
Who's
a doubt.
oppressing you, Spike?
And I'll be
Who's
honest with you,
oppressing
and
you?
many African American people have said this and will say this. To be black in America versus other parts of the world, it's not even comparable.
Joe, try to be black in Africa. Try to be
Dude,
black in Africa
well,
and
I'll
see
be
how
honest
your
with you,
life
even in
is.
parts of Europe, Joe. I mean, like I'm not saying it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And I'll be the first to say, I mean, I have I have a Haitian wife. She's black, and my kids are biracial. There are places I would not live with family. Going to
Right.
be honest with you. Not everyone sees the world in a nice manner. There is no question. I've traveled this whole country, and that's a fact. That is a fact. However, to say with a broad stroke that the whole country is racist is not fair. It's just
Well,
not fair, nor is it accurate.
it's
And
falling on
most
deaf
sane
ears.
people would agree with me, including black people.
Well, no,
Sane.
no, sane black people will. All right. But when you're talking about Elie Mistal and Joy Reid and
Well, he's
Ibram
not
Kendi,
sane.
you're not dealing with rational, sane people. Okay. Let's talk about this a little bit. Okay. And Joe, I'm not trying to put you in a box, nor are you trying to put me in a box. But let's talk about now. These are myths. All right. These are myths that are being told about national conservatism. Okay. The article that I found was by David Bragg at the Federalist. Okay. Now, I wrote to you, Joe, and I said, Joe Resinello, I consider myself a national conservative. I think. I don't know. But let's talk about this. And I want your views, okay? Little back and forth here, a little serve and volley at the front line with Joe and Joe on the Crusade channel. Myth number one, that we're isolationists. Joe, I'm going to throw my position out there. I only want to go to war when it's absolutely necessary. I take the Catholic view. When all other means have been exhausted, okay? When the enemy, when the threat is grave, okay, and there's no getting through, you have to go to war. You fight the war according to the just war principles of the Catholic Church, but you have to go to war. You have to fight. You don't have to let somebody else maraud all over your country. Outside of that, Joe, no, I don't want to go. I don't want any more wars in Afghanistan or Iraq. Okay, and I don't want any more of these useless wars. So that's where I'm not an isolationist. I'm not. I do think America should take care of itself. But at times we're going to have to get involved in the world. But we have to be very careful when we do so. What say you, Joe?
I would say I would agree. First of all, as a Catholic, you have to take that position because ultimately the person who runs our life is God. And if you do go to war, and like you said, you have to be able to defend your own. I mean, God permits that, but it has to be a just war. That's number one. Number two, it's not our business. And those wars have proven to not work. I mean, we should have gotten that through our head after Vietnam, but it just didn't work, and it doesn't
Right.
work. You can't impose yourself, your culture on other people. It doesn't work. They're not interested. They're not interested. You know, like, and it's not our business. It comes right down to that. And frankly, I would agree with you. And I'll tell you the truth, as far as isolationism, you can't be a pure isolationist, like isolationist now.
Right.
The world is global, whether you like it or not. It is. It's the way it works. It's now there's things you could do to rein that in for your national interest, and you should, because you got to
You
take
should.
care of your own. But at the end of the day, like, again, it comes down to reality. Like, there's only what the only country that's like completely isolated is like North Korea. I mean, like, it just doesn't work that way
Right.
anymore. And
Right.
however, with that said, we have no business going to war. Trump's foreign policy was an A plus. It was an A plus.
Joe, how about when he turned around and he said to Xi Jinping, okay, or he said to the media, aside from being the enemy of the American people, which they are, he said, I sat down and I let him know I'm gonna lay out America's interests, and I'm gonna fight for America's interests, and you're gonna fight for yours. And it's called a negotiation. But it seems like Trump was the bad guy because as far as foreign policy is concerned, Joe, we're supposed to just give in to everybody. We're just supposed to let them walk all over us. He was a bad guy because he told NATO, no, you actually have to kick in some money. We're pulling back some money. You actually have to start ponying up the money that we've been paying for you Germany and France and European countries that are in NATO members. That makes him the bad guy. Tired of getting, I'm isolation. I'm with you, Joe. Engage the world as much as you have to, but in the meantime, protect your home, protect your own, and
That's right.
protect your workers. Okay. And if you're a country, Joe, if you're a country out there and you're a basket case, okay, and you're gonna, you know, in other words, and you just won't straighten yourself out, then we're going to leave you to yourself. We're going to leave you to yourself until you fall to the depths and you straighten yourself out. Okay, but no, we're not sending any more American blood, American soldiers to fight and die for no real
No, absolutely
tangible
not.
American
I
benefit.
100% agree. And frankly, I actually think that that policy is going to move forward. And that was started by Trump. I actually think that that is the policy of America. Like it or not, they won't give him credit, but that is the policy of America as far as boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that we're going to see that again.
I certainly hope not. Let's go to myth number 2, Joe. Joe, somehow being Roman Catholic means that you're a communist, I guess. Or if you're a national conservative, like a J.D. Vance, I would put him in that category. Okay, somehow you oppose free markets, and I don't understand the knee jerk reaction on the part of the neocon conservatives. Okay, who have gotten us into these useless foreign wars. Everything is free markets, free markets, free market, global. Don't do anything. Government can't intercede. Joe, that's not right. We value markets just as much as anybody. But you know what market, Joe, I do value more than others? I value the labor market. Okay. And I want to see higher wages. And I want to see them going up. I want to see them stop being driven down by government policy. Yeah. In that case, I'm interested in government action to do something about that. So, no, we are not opposed to free markets. Joe, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Free markets are good, but there has to be morality around capitalism. And that is only, you can't legislate it. That is learned in the family and it's through religion. I mean, like I always say in my house to my kids, treat people, I say it like as my children, react to one another. Treat people the way you want to be treated. If you put a product out, you should get a fair price on it. But I'm not entitled to gouge you. I'm also not entitled to take advantage of you. And that has everything to do with how you're raised and how you look at a God. Like not everyone's Catholic, but people, including people who go to Alcoholics Anonymous, they look to a higher power that holds you accountable. That is how you're supposed to live, but we don't. That's why we're in the shape that we're in. And frankly, Republicans, too many of them, that's all they care about is just getting rich. I mean,
Right.
Mike Church said something last week, and I want to quote it because I think it was very, he said something that a lot of people don't say. And this is what he said. We're not made to live an opulent life here on earth. We're not. We're made for heaven. You see, that goes against the American ideal.
Right.
We are not made to live an opulent life. In fact, the gospel tells you that that is not the path to heaven.
Right.
But that doesn't mean, listen, if you have a business, you have to employ people. You have to pay them fairly. You should give them benefits if you can. And frankly, you have to take care of your own. You should live modestly. Why? Because your heaven is not on earth. And frankly, the rest you should take care of other people, not through the government, through your own hand.
That's
and
right.
The gospel teaches us that. And if you're not willing to accept that, whether you're a Protestant or a Catholic, I got news for you. You may be in a big shock when you meet the Lord. Because too many places in the gospel, and I can quote 3 right off the top of my head: Matthew, Lazarus, and the camel going through the eye of the needle. It's pretty clear. But that is not an American idea. And frankly, I give him credit for saying it because it turns a lot of people off, but it is the truth. And that's the truth.
No, Joe. Listen, you are spot on.
Why don't people have kids? Why is it that people who make the most money? My father used to say this to me when I was a little boy. He said the poor have kids, the rich don't. He's 100% correct. I work with people that could have 20 kids and send them all to college with no debt. Nope, not having it. I like my big house. I belong to a country club, costs me $20,000 a year for a membership fee. I
That's
like
cheap.
that Ford. I'm just saying, maybe it cost me 40. I like that BMW, $1,500 a month. I like that $5,000 watch. I like that vacation. I spent
Right.
$20,000 on it. I'm going to be honest with you. That is not a Christian mentality.
Right.
Protestant or Catholic, like it or not, that's the truth.
But as you said, people are going to live that way. Okay. But one thing I will say is this: if you accumulate a lot of money and you don't want to listen to the gospel, you don't want to listen to the
Well,
teachings
then
of
you
the
go to
Catholic
hell,
Church.
Joe.
All right.
That's
Okay. No, no,
the thing.
but these
Like,
Joe,
and this is what, then you go to hell.
but Joe, these people are not invincibly
What?
ignorant. They know the deal. Okay. But here's one thing though: you don't get to make your money off the backs of workers. Okay.
100%
You
agree.
have to stop influencing government officials. I mean, John in the chat room, he wants us to get into fair wage. We can't get into the whole thing about fair wages, but the thing that's driving down wage, or the things that are driving down wages, sexual revolution in the 1960s. Okay. Quote unquote, liberated women going into the workforce, many of whom who don't want to be there. Okay. They don't. They're forced to because wages are so crap in this country. Unchecked immigration. Okay, so you get the Chamber of Commerce loves when brown people come across that border because the Democrats are just going to use them for their votes, and the Chamber of Commerce Republicans, they're just going to use them for their cheap labor. If you if you took the necessary government action to prevent these things from happening, fostering family life, encouraging women to come out of the workforce, making it more financially feasible through the tax code, okay? Shutting down the border so you're not taking money from American wages. Guess what? The black kid from Oakland might go north of Oakland and go pick apples if he's getting $25 an hour, but he ain't going to do it for $10 an hour. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him, okay? If you want me to work, you got to pay me. All right. And that's one thing I will say. In other words, I'm not pro-union the way we know unions in the 19th century, the 20th century, but I am pro-organized labor. And I think labor needs to organize to negotiate for their own interests the same way business people negotiate for theirs. If that makes me, that is not opposed to a free market. That is free market economics at work. Labor is a central component to free market. Labor should be allowed to get in there and negotiate a better package. And the
Absolutely,
conditions
dude.
under which wages will go up have to be addressed by the government, i.e., promoting families, encouraging women to come out of the workforce, and shutting down the border. All right. And tariffs. And tariffs. Trump proved that you could have tariffs and you won't wreck the economy.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, I think I don't believe in shutting down the border completely. Like, it has to be responsible.
No, you know what I mean. I didn't mean
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
people.
Because
I'm
I mean,
talking
we're
about
a
illegal
country of
immigration.
that's not a Catholic idea either.
Now, I'm talking
You're
about
entitled
illegal
to a
immigration,
border.
Joe. I'm talking about
Yeah,
illegal
I mean,
immigration.
the thing is, immigration will never come to an agreement because it's utilized by both sides. Both sides use the argument. It'll never, ever, ever come to a signed law. The Republicans use it, and so do the Democrats to fuel their base. And frankly, both sides are not innocent in their intent.
Well,
And it's
but that's why I think I would identify with national conservatives who I agree with you. Okay. And by the way, Joe, when I say shut down the border, you know what I mean. Shut down illegal immigration. Shut down people just
we
being
can
able
make
to
it a
walk.
little bit. I'll even be honest with you. We can make it open more, like in terms of make it legal, make it easier for people. And frankly, you have to think when they come here, what are you going to do with them? Where are they going to go? I mean, we all know that the border is open for political reasons. It's obvious because now they're being shipped to quote unquote sanctuary cities and they're being sent back. Chicago's sending them back. I mean, again, people can't connect the dots. That's the
Right.
problem, Joe. It's sad. I say this and I say it all the time. It's like watching a drug addict kill themselves. They just can't connect the darn dots. It's happening right in front of your face.
Right.
You're used and they frigging pull your strings and you fall for it. And then you get bulldozed. This is sad, but this is true. And
Well,
this is exactly what's going on.
you can't get bulldozed when you have knowledge. All right. You cannot get bulldozed when you have knowledge, Joe. If you have the information you need, I'm going to join with a group of people here, Joe. I'm waiting to hear from the one gentleman who's the chairman of the Catholics for Cary Lake in Arizona. And I'm going to get involved. I'm going to get involved. Okay. And I want to try to help to reach out to Hispanic Catholics in Maricopa County. Okay. Because they're lied to. They're not dumb people. Anybody who thinks that is stupid themselves. Okay. These are not stupid people. They're just not being given, they're not given the truth about what the Democrat Party stands for. You have Cary Lake's opponent doesn't want to debate her. You have Blake Masters' opponent, Mark Kelly, another disgraziad Catholic, okay, doesn't want to debate Blake. They're trying to move away from debates, okay? But if Hispanics, just say, for argument's sake, here in Maricopa County, if they knew what the Democrats stood for, Joe, very few of them would vote Democrat. Very few. Let me say this to you, and then I want to move on to a couple more points. We only have limited time. I like what David Bragg said about free markets. He said, we see the free market as the best means to an end and not an end in itself. Therefore, we're willing to depart from orthodox laissez-faire when the national interest requires it. Joe, I consider that to be a reasonable and rational position.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to you.
But Joe, this is the sad part. Too many people go into the market to just get rich at any cost. Any cost. I mean, I've worked in that for 30 years and I've witnessed it. I even saw that before I went to work. People I grew up with at any cost. And then they think somehow they're going to go to heaven. Like this is not the way a Christian, Protestant or Catholic, behaves. You don't do that.
Right.
I've said this. I wasn't raised that way. And frankly, like I said, you have to work because you have to eat. Let's be real. We live in the world. We got to eat. We got to work. Things cost money, but there's a place for it. At 5 o'clock, you go home. If that means, I talked to a friend of mine at work, very smart guy, worked at Goldman Sachs for 20 years. They wanted him to move to Hong Kong. He's like, I'm not doing it because I have a family and I'm not going to uproot them. Now, I'm not defending Goldman Sachs. I'm just saying you have to find a balance because you have to work. You have to eat.
Right.
And do something. And frankly, we don't have that balance because our priorities are screwed up.
Well, that's one of the reasons why the Frontline with Joe and Joe is in existence. We're trying to help people in the best way we can. We're imperfect men, but we're trying our best on the Crusade channel, always on air and always online at crusadechannel.com, Joe, to raise or help in our own humble way, help to raise the consciousness of the American people, to connect those dots that you're talking about. Myth number 3, Joe, NatCon or National Conservative is just another word for Trumpist. Joe, I voted for Donald Trump twice. I'm going to vote for him again. Okay. He's a major disappointment on certain issues, but overall, I can, in good conscience, as a Roman Catholic, vote for him, particularly because of judges. Okay. Particularly, but not for nothing. I liked my tax cut. I really did. I like the fact that an American president stood up against China. I like the fact that an American president told the liberals at Harvard University, the economists, and said, no, tariffs are not bad when properly used. Okay. I like that he did that. I'm voting for him again. Doesn't make me a Trumpist. Makes me a guy who can weigh the benefits versus things that not so beneficial, like Donald Trump waving a rainbow flag. Okay. And the other side and the damage that they would inflict. So you're not going to find, I like the way Bragg puts it in his article, you're not going to find any hero worship or life-size cutouts at our events of Donald Trump, okay? But we give him credit for moving our agenda forward from the conservatives, who have their fingers on the conservative movement right now. So with that, Joe, I'm going to hand it over to you.
People should just turn the news off and look at their paycheck and look at how the government ran. Look how the economy ran. Look how cities were safer. Look at results. You don't have to have Thanksgiving dinner with him. You don't.
Right.
However, look at the results. Is he perfect? No. Is the country ever going to be perfect? No. But at the end of the day, Look at what's going on. Like, again, if you can't connect the dots on your grocery bill going up $50 a week and paying $6,000 a year in gasoline, something's wrong with you.
Something's wrong.
And I don't know what else to say to you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You could rationalize it any which way you want. Something is wrong with you. You don't have to vacation with Donald Trump, but his policies benefited the middle class in a more efficacious manner than Joe Biden's did.
Joe,
Sorry.
so
Don't know
a
what to
leftist,
tell you.
a leftist that I work with, and I really should not be talking about politics at work, but this was a few months ago, okay? And I was talking to somebody who I do agree with, and that person is a libertarian. And I said to them, I said, Donald Trump is the best Republican president in my lifetime. In fact, in my lifetime, he's probably the best president. I think he was a better president than Reagan. I really do. Okay. And we're not going to get into why, just to say I really believe that. All right. And a leftist that we work with overheard us, and he said to me in a kind of a timid way, I just want to ask, what was so great about Trump? And I said, well, judges. I voted for Trump for judges. Now, this is a leftist. Oh, yeah, this was before Roe versus Wade got overturned. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, he's probably going to, his judges are going to probably going to overturn Roe versus Wade. What a crime. That's what he said. But then on a different level, I said, well, what about tax cuts? Well, that tax cut only really went to the wealthy. I said, dude, I got an extra $100, $150 in my paycheck every week. Week, not month, week. Okay. I paid about $500 to $700 less per month in taxes under Donald Trump. Don't tell me it was a tax cut for the rich. Maybe they benefited also, but we benefited too. A real tax cut. Okay?
That's just
So my
Trump
point is,
derangement syndrome. Like, they're deranged. That's what I'm
right.
saying. It is sad. I equate it to, sadly, folks that live in inner cities that continue to vote for Democrats that make their children go to decrepit schools.
Right.
Any person that does that is not connecting the dots.
Joe,
That's
we have to. I'm sorry, Joe. We do have to stop there. We're coming up on the hour, but I wanted to let you finish. I did want to end with this though, just to address David Bragg. Joe, he's one of the big guys in the national conservative movement. Okay, here's what he said about this equation with white supremacy and racism, and I think it's important, Joe, to read. Okay, he says, "Quote: From our very first days, we've told white nationalists not to attend our events. I publicized the ban during the first plenary session of our first conference by declaring we are nationalists, not white nationalists. If anyone here tonight believes that being an American has anything to do with the color of someone's skin, please leave. There's the door. Your ideas are not welcome here." Close quote. Joe R., I love it. Joe, we got to go. I'm sorry I cut you off, brother, but we want to thank you all for joining us here at the Frontline with Joe and Joe on the Crusade channel, always on air and always online at crusadechannel.com, the last live radio station standing. The chat room is always open at crusadechannel.com/chat. So we encourage you to participate. And wherever you find Joe and I on social media, YouTube, Facebook, wherever it is, primarily on YouTube, the Frontline TV, hit a like, hit a subscribe, hit a share. Help us out. Do whatever you can. We really appreciate it. And remember, until the next time, that our conversation is your conversation, and that conversation is going on everywhere.